All right, so this week we are going to take a look at two kinds of special right triangles. The first one we're going to look at is the 45, 45, 90, and that refers to the angle of the triangle, and it looks something kind of like this. These two sides are the same. This is a 45, and that's a 45. Okay, so it looks something kind of like that. And you got a picture of it actually on your guided notes. Okay, so there are a lot of blanks at the top. This top part of the page, this is part of the notes for this week. So the bottom part is the worksheet. The top part is the notes. Okay, so we're gonna go through the top part together right now on this page, and then we're gonna go through the top part together on the next page. All right, so let's start with this page. Okay. Does anybody know when you have a right triangle, what you call the longest side? Things with an H. Yes? Hypotenuse, yep. And does anybody know what you call the shorter sides? Begins with an L. Yep. Legs, yeah, perfect. So on your guided notes, okay, you want to write down what I am highlighting. So leg, hypotenuse. So you want to fill those in. And in the diagram that's next to it, you have some other blanks. X, X, X square root of 2. Okay, you want to fill those in. So those are the first 6 things you want to put down in the diagram.
What?
We're writing that down. Okay, under the definition, there's one word that you are missing. It says in a 45, 45, 90 right triangle, the hypotenuse is equal to the square root of, actually there's 2 things you're missing. 2, so you gotta write that word down. Square root of 2 times the length of I don't know if you can see that word right there, it says leg. It didn't print in a great spot. Okay, so you want to write 2 on the first line in the box, and then leg on the second. Okay. In the box that says note, it says this kind of triangle is also called an, okay, vocabulary is not super critical for this, but you want to fill in the word isosceles. And then in the second one, it says this kind of triangle can be formed by drawing the diagonal of a square. So that's what a 45, 45, 90 triangle is. Imagine a square and draw the diagonal. You just made 2 triangles. All right. So the most important thing on the notes is the equations that are in this box. Okay, where it says equations, you want to fill in leg right next to square root of 2. And in the other one, it says leg equals, I don't think you have that part, hypotenuse over the square root of 2. So everything that I just highlighted, those were everything that was missing that you had to write down on your notes. And again, this box, this is the most important box. Because what that box is going to allow us to do is we're going to fill in either for hypotenuse or for leg, and we're going to be able to figure out the other one. Okay, out of the 2 triangles we're going to do, the 45, 45, 90 is the easier one. Anything else that people need to copy down from what's highlighted on the board? All right. Now, the bottom page, maybe we'll do one of those together in a little bit, but let's flip over and go to the next page. And at the top of the next page, bless you. This is the end of the definitions that we need to copy down. So it says special right triangles 30, 60, 90. All right. So can someone just remind me one more time? What do you call the longest side? Hypotenuse. And the two short sides? Legs. Yep. Those names are the same. The only difference is in a 30, 60, 90, the two legs are not the same length. One of them is short, one of them is long. So we'll call the bottom one here the short leg, and the height, this will be the long leg. All right. So next to it, they give you a diagram, and we want to fill in those three things. So we have an x on the bottom, we have a 2x for the hypotenuse, and we have an x square root of 3 on the height. Again, we're going to break all this information down when we fill in the equation boxes. That's going to be the most important part. Yep, so you're all set.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, under the box it says note, it says you can draw one of these triangles if you draw in. If you don't know what altitude is, altitude means height. Think of like if you're in an airplane, altitude is how high you are. So the height of an equilateral triangle. An equilateral triangle looks exactly like that. What they're saying is if you take that triangle and you cut it in half, exactly like that, this triangle that I just drew is the one that's up there. Long leg, short leg, hypotenuse is over there. So what I just shaded in, that's the triangle that is on the right side. All right, what else do we have to write down? The definition, we didn't do that. Okay, so for this, you want to write down in a 30, 60, 90, the hypotenuse is equal to, you want to fill in, is equal to 2 times the short leg, and the long leg is equal to the square root of, you want to fill in the word 3. Square root of 3. I think that's all you have to fill in there. Okay, so the most important part is going to be these equations. These equations are going to how we figure out every problem in the IXLs. So the first one says hypotenuse equals 2 times, you want to fill in the word short leg. The formula for the short leg is the hypotenuse divided by, you want to fill in 2. Okay, so the formula is in this top box. Bless you. This top box right here. These formulas will help you find this side, the short leg, and the hypotenuse. What side didn't I circle? Yeah. The long leg. That's what these last two formulas are for. So these last two formulas are going to help us to figure out the long leg. So the first one says long leg equals short leg times, you want to fill in square root of 3. And the last formula is short leg equals long leg, you want to put a square root of 3. Okay, if we don't get these formulas right in those boxes, it's going to mess up every problem we do this week. All right, so let's try some examples. So I'm going to do a couple of the IXL problems. I just took some of the screenshots and put them in your notes. They are right here. So it's right on the next page after the 3069. Okay, and there's 5. Let me see, did I do all 5? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes, I did. Okay. Okay, we're going to start with the one in the upper left. Okay, so first thing we have to do is decide on this problem, is this triangle a 30, 60, 90 or a 45, 45, 90? Yes.
30, 60, 90.
Yeah, how do you know it's a 30, 60, 90?
Because you have 30 degrees in the top and
Yep.
60 degrees in the left corner.
Right, they label it.
And there's a 90 in the corner.
Yep. So you got a 30, you got a 60, and you got a 90. They label all your angles for you right there. Okay. So what I want to do now is I want to label these sides short leg, long leg, and hypotenuse. Which side in this triangle is the hypotenuse? Yep.
The opposite of the right triangle.
The opposite of the
right angle.
the right angle. Yep. So I'm going to label that side hypotenuse. What side is the short leg?
The
Yep.
bottom of the triangle.
The bottom. So let's call this short leg, and we're going to look that up in our formulas in a minute. And then which side is the long leg? Yep.
That. The main side.
Yeah, the side that says 9 times the square root of 3. Okay. So the question that they want to know is what goes in that box. They say find Q. All right, what side is Q?
Short leg.
Short legs. That's the goal in this problem. Find the short leg. Okay, so I'm going to go back and look at my notes and see if I have a formula that can help me find the short leg if I know the long leg. Let's go back and look. Let's look at our formulas. Is there a formula in one of those two boxes that has short leg and long leg in the same formula?
The short leg equals long leg divided by the
Square root?
Yeah.
Yep.
Square root.
So we've got a formula right here. This bottom formula tells you if you want to know the short leg, take the long leg and divide by the square root of 3. Okay, so let's write that down. Short leg equals long leg divided by square root of 3. All right, let's go back to our problem. So short equals long divided by square root of 3. Now we're going to fill into that formula what we know. Do we know the short leg? What do you think? No, that's the whole goal. We're trying to find the short leg. Okay. Do we know the long leg?
Yes.
Yeah, how long is that?
9 and the square root.
Yeah, so you're going to take that and plug that in where it says long. 9 square root of 3. And then we're going to divide by square root of 3 because that was in our formula. When you have the same number and it's being multiplied and it's in the top and the bottom, what happens to it?
Cancel
it cancels out. This part's gone. So what does it say that the short leg equals? 9. That's the answer. Okay, that's the idea of every problem this week. You label the sides, you plug them into a formula, and then you get the answer. Any question on the first one? All right, let's stick with 30, 60, 90. So I'm gonna come back to the 45, 45 in a little bit. Let's do this one. How do we know that the triangle in purple here is a 30, 60, 90? Yep.
So you have a 30 and a 60 and a 90.
Yeah, it's labeled 30, 60, and a 90. Okay. Let's label each side. What side is the 7? Short leg, long leg, or hypotenuse? Yeah,
Short leg.
that's the short leg. How about the side that's labeled Q? Is that the long leg or the hypotenuse? Yeah,
Long leg.
that's the long leg. And that means that the side across from the 90 is the hypotenuse. The directions say find Q. Q is the long leg. So we're going to go back and look at our formulas and see if we've got a formula that has long in it and short in it. The reason I'm using long and short is because long is what they want me to find, and short is what I know. I know the short is 7. So is there a formula that has long leg and short leg in it? Yeah.
The second box of the first one.
Okay, the second box, first formula. Yeah. Long equals short times square root of 3. That's your formula. Long equals short times root 3. Okay, let's write that down. Go back to our problem. Okay. Long equals short times square root of 3. And what is the length of the short side here? Yeah,
7 feet.
7 feet. So fill in 7 for short. And that is your final answer. They say to write your answer in simplest radical form. Okay? That is simplest radical form. If you get one that's not simplest radical form, I'm going to help you with that, because the point of this lesson is not really to teach you how to do simplest radical form. That's a whole nother week of material. All right. So I'm going to help you with that. All right, let's try another 30, 60, 90. Okay. 30, 60, 90. So we know what page we're getting our formulas from. Let's start with the 16. Is 16 the long leg, the short leg, or the hypotenuse? It's the hypotenuse. Let's start with the W now. Is the W the long leg, or is it the short leg?
Long leg.
Yep, that's the long leg. And what about this side, kind of on the bottom?
Short leg.
That's the short leg. So the goal this time is to find W, which is the long leg. So we're going to look at our formulas, see if we can find a formula that has long and hypotenuse in it. Long and hypotenuse. Okay, let's look at our formulas. Is there a formula that has both long and hypotenuse in it? No, there isn't. So then that means we can't figure out the side they want us to find right away. We have to find another side first. So instead of trying to find long, even though they didn't ask for it, we have to find the short. So let's look and see, do we have a formula that has short and hypotenuse in it? Let's Let's go back. What do you think? Do we have a formula with short and hypotenuse? Yeah? Yes, we do. This one right here. Again, is that the answer they really want us to write? No, but we can't do it without it. So we've got to do that one first. It says short equals hypotenuse divided by 2. All right, let's go back to our problem. Short equals hypotenuse over 2. Okay. How long is the hypotenuse in this problem? Yeah.
16.
16. So fill that in. What's 16 divided by 2? Yeah.
8.
8. And which side was that? That we just found? That's the short. Okay. So we know the short side is 8 meters. Now we should be able to figure out the long side. Okay. We know every side except the long one. So let's go back to our formulas and see if there's a formula that has short in it and long in it. Okay, we know there wasn't one with long and hypotenuse. We didn't have one. But now we know the short. Short and long. Micah, what do you think? Is there a formula that has short and long in the same formula?
The one with the 3.
Which box? The top box?
Not the bottom.
The bottom box, yes. We're trying to find the long leg. So we're going to try this one right here. Long equals short times square root of 3. Okay, let's go back to our problem. Long equals short times square root of 3. You won't have to memorize it. You can just keep flipping your sheet over. Long equals short times square root of 3. How long is the short side? Yeah.
8.
8. So you're going to fill in that right there, and that's your final answer. 8 times the square root of 3. If that was not simplest radical form, I will help you. So before you submit any answer on your IXL this week, have me check it. And if it's not simplest form, I'm going to help you with that. Because again, that's a whole other week of material to learn how to do that. So we're just doing that. Okay. Any question on that one? That's the hard one, right? That's the 30, 60, 90. The 45, 45, 90 is easier because there's only 2 formulas to pick from. All right. How do we know this is a 45, 45, 90? You're going to see the number 45 written twice. Okay. What do we call the side that's across from the 90? Let's start by labeling that. Yep. That's your hypotenuse. And what do we call the other 2 sides? There's not a short one and a long one. We just call them, yeah, legs. Leg, leg. There is no short, there is no long. They're the same. Okay? So our goal is to find the leg using the hypotenuse. Let's look up if we have a formula for that. So I'm on the 45, 45, 90 page. Is there a formula that has leg and hypotenuse in it? Yeah, this bottom one right here. Leg equals hypotenuse over square root of 2. Let's go back to our problem. Leg equals hypotenuse over the square root of 2. What's the hypotenuse? How long is it in this problem? About, just Smiley? How long is the hypotenuse? So this is given to us. We don't have to calculate it.
I don't know how to do that. 5 and 2.
Yeah, 5 square root 2. So 5 square root 2 is the hypotenuse. Square root 2 is in the bottom. And Caleb, what would cancel out there? What would cancel out?
Would you cancel out?
Yep, what would cancel out?
The 2.
Not the 2, the, what do we call that? Yep,
Square root of 2.
square root. So that's gone. And what are we left with? Just a 5. That's the answer. 5 miles. Okay. Finish up with the last one. Okay. This side that's 2 inches, what do we call that side? Hypotenuse or leg? Leg. How about the side that's labeled U? What do we call that? Yep. Hypotenuse. So now we got to look up our formulas and see, is there a formula to find the hypotenuse using the leg? Do we have a formula that says hypotenuse equals? Which one? Top one or bottom one? Top. Hypotenuse equals leg times square root of 2. Hypotenuse equals leg square root of 2. How long is the leg in this problem? Yep.
2 inches.
2 inches. So 2, I just filled in 2 right there. That goes there. And you're done. If that was not simplest radical form, again, I'm going to help you figure that out. Okay. Same thing on the worksheet. If you get any answers that are not simplest radical form, I'm going to accept them because that's not what we're learning this week. Okay, that's what we're learning this week. So every one of those problems, all you got to do is use your formula sheet and then look up the formula and plug into it. That's it. Okay. So make sure you don't lose your formula sheet because you'll need it for this week.